Welcome to the audio excerpts of Bhagavad Gita for All with Nalan Narula on GettingPositiveKarmaNow.com. Recorded in front of a live audience.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We had completed a discussion last time on chapter 7. Before that we had question and answers. Now we move today to chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita. And chapter 8 is variously known as attainment of salvation or attaining the Supreme. How do you get there? So that is what chapter 8 is all about. And if you would recall in chapter 7, the last conclusion that Krishna had given to Arjuna was that basically he is the underlying force and the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigods and of all sacrifices, all yajnas. And that a person who with a steadfast mind, firmly linked in yoga with Krishna, if he can understand this with the proper yogic connection, as he has delineated in chapter 6 and 7, such a person can understand and even know me at the time of death, which is very important, because what you think of at the time of death, what you practice for your whole life is what you are likely to be conscious of or aware of when you leave your body. And that is actually a final test. So as your consciousness is at the time of death, you will get your next position in birth accordingly. So that is very important. That text was Sa Adi Bhuta Adi Daivam Mam Sa Adi Yagyam Cha Ye Vidhu Prayan Kale Api Cha Mam Te Vidhu Yukta Chetasa. So Sa Adi Bhuta, the governing principle behind the material manifestation, Adi Daivam, that governing principle underlying the demigods, Mam means me, Krishna, Sa Adhi Yagyam, Cha Ye Vidhu Prayan Kale. So those who know me to be the Sa Adhi Yagyam, also the one who sustains all sacrifices and for whom all sacrifices are meant eventually. Cha Ye Vidhu Prayan Kale, those who know this. Vidhu is from knowledge, knowing, Prayan Kale, at the time of death, giving up your body. Apicha Mam Te Vidhu Yukta Chetasa, then they can come to me. Come to me is implied because it means that they can even understand and know me at the time of leaving their body with the Yukta Chetasa, with a linked consciousness, steadily linked, unbreakable consciousness, which is previously he said that a yogi is a person who does this with a dridha vrita, a vow, a very strong, powerful vow. So now we have chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita, text 1, where Arjuna is asking Lord Krishna, Arjuna Vacha, Kim tat brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottama adhibhutam cha kim proktam adhidaivam kim uchyate. So Arjuna is asking Krishna, what is the meaning of Brahma? What is Brahma? Because Krishna has mentioned that a person who is connected to me is Brahma, knower of Brahma. He's saying, what is this Brahma? What is the self? Adhyatmam. What is the me, the self? Because we refer to ourselves as many different aspects. Is it the bodily self? Is it the mental self? Is it a so-called spiritual self? Is it the Paramatma? What are these things? What are the fruitive activities? What are all these material manifestation and which is coming out of actually karma? And Kim proktam adhidaivam kim uchyate. So what are the demigods? Who are they? What are they? Please explain this. Now we can't assume that Arjuna is totally in ignorance about these things, but it appears that he has been made ignorant, or apparently somewhat ignorant in parts, in order that Krishna can have this conversation with him. So the Lord has explained yagyas, karma, what is the demigods, what are the fruitive activities, what is the material manifestation, and what is the spiritual self, the Adhyatvam. So now he's asking for clarification. Arjuna is asking for more clarification on this point, and Krishna is now going to explain in chapter 8 what exactly this means. So chapter 8 is now the foundation of what we will study in chapter 9, which is the most confidential knowledge about the divine. So that is at the central part of the Bhagavad Gita. There are 18 chapters. 9th chapter is right bang in the middle, and that's where the most confidential knowledge is, and that is the development of Bhakti Yoga. So all this has been a background up to now to lay the foundation for what is actually Bhakti Yoga. So you started off with the analytical study, we started off with Hatha Yoga, we started off with Sankhya Yoga, and now we are coming to the point of Bhakti Yoga. Okay. Text 2, chapter 8. Adi yagya katham ka atra dehe asmin madhusudana prayana kale cha katham gyaya asi niyata atma bhi. Adi yagya, the sustainer of all sacrifices, the Lord of sacrifice. Katham ka atra dehe. So how are we to know that the Lord of the sacrifice lives in this dehe, in this body, asmin? In where does he live? O Madhusudana, Prayana Kale, and how can those at the time of death, Katham Gyaya, know you, Niyata Atma bhi, the self-controlled? How do they know this? How will they know you? How will they come to know you if they are engaged in this self-controlled devotional service, in other words, to you? And he is referring to him as Madhusudana. Now, in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when Sanjay is narrating what is happening on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he is reporting to Dhritarashtra. He also refers to Krishna as Madhusudana. And then, right in the first few shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, before anything is revealed to Arjuna about Krishna's true identity, he is also referring to Krishna as Madhusudana. Now this is very important, very interesting. Madhusudana means the destroyer of the demon Madhu. So there is a narrative where Madhusudana destroyed a demon called Hayagriva. And actually Krishna nowhere has directly destroyed Hayagriva, but it is an incarnation of Vishnu. So one of his expansions. But Arjun is saying that I know that you were Hayagriva. And the significance of the narrative of Hayagriva is that he actually rescued the Vedas from the demons called Madhu and Kaitab. So there is a very interesting narrative as to how Madhu and Kaitab came about and how they stole the Vedas. When Vishnu was reclining on his asan in the Garbhodakshaya ocean on the Sheshnag, and some earwax, Shirodhara, came out from his ear, and from that two demons, Madhu and Kaitab, were born or appeared. And they did a lot of penance and they got a lot of blessing eventually from Lakshmi Devi, that they could only die when they wanted to die or they asked for death. And in the process they became very powerful gundas, you can imagine, big demoniac rascals, and they freely took anything they wanted from the universe. They were like robber barons. And eventually what they did was they went and confronted Lord Brahma and stole the Vedas from him, and Brahma couldn't do anything. So Brahma was totally frustrated and upset because they were more powerful than him and he was unable to protect the Vedas. So he went immediately to Lord Vishnu. Now, Lord Vishnu was resting. And how was he resting? There are various narratives. One of the narratives is that he had just fought a demon called Hayagriva, and after a very, 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 very long battle, he had overcome him and he was resting. So he was sitting in Padmasana, and he had his bow, and he was holding on to his bow as a support, and he had gone into a meditative trance to recover his energies or just meditate. And at that time, Lord Brahma could not wake him up. So the demigods also gathered, he gathered, and they didn't know what to do. So, what is to be done? So, one narrative is that Lord Brahma then generated some termites who ate through the bow, snapping the bow, and when the bow snapped, it made a huge sound throughout the universe, and Vishnu's head fell off. Now, that was a big problem for the demigods. So what to do? So then eventually they got the head of a horse of Lord Surya, one of his chariot horses, and they placed that on the head of Vishnu. Now that chariot horse is like the color of the morning sun, which is pinkish red. And so that became the form of Hayagriva. Hayagriva means one who has a neck like a horse. So above the neck he was like a horse. And he then went to these demons, Madhu and Kaitab, and he actually fooled them. He said, you know, you got such a nice boon from my feminine aspect of my energy, Yogmaya, Nidra, Yog Nidra I was in, and Yogmaya Devi, Lakshmi Devi gave you this boon. Why don't you give me a boon also? You are very powerful people. So he appealed to their false ego. Now, Madhu refers also to honey and also to something that is pungent and bitter. So the false ego is like honey to begin with, and then it is becoming very bitter. There's a lot of bitterness involved. So that's a very significant aspect also of his name. So so the demons got very thrilled. Oh, you know, Vishnu is coming to us. My God, you know, okay, we'll give him. What do you want? I'll give you. So, Mr. Hayagriva, so he said, okay, I want your death, so you please die now. And so they died. And that was the end of the demons. So Madhusudana means one who is rescuing knowledge, and in fact in August there is a Madhusudan Hayagriva Jayanti, and Hayagriva is of course the horse incarnation with the neck like a horse and the head like a horse, who rescued the Vedas. So traditionally by learned Brahmins he is worshipped, or he is propitiated, or he is meditated upon on the full moon in August, which was in the middle of August this year. And they invoke his blessings and energies for wisdom. So, knowledge and wisdom. So, Krishna is been saying all this while that it is very important that you have the knowledge, the acquired knowledge and the realized knowledge, which is why this spiritual education is so important, because without it we are lost without a roadmap as to where we are and where do we need to go. We're just wandering around in the whole universe. So here again, just to remind you, Arjuna is asking Krishna, how does this Lord of Sacrifice live in the body, in which part, and how can those who are engaged in your service know you? Because Krishna has mentioned yoga, and so which is those who serve him will be considered linked to him if they do it in the proper way. So these are some of the questions. And then Lord Krishna is answering Arjuna. Shri Bhagavan Uvach in chapter 8, text 3, Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhava Adhyatam Uchyate Bhut Bhava Udbhava Kara Visarga Karma Sangyata. The Supreme Lord said that the Brahma or the spiritual nature is aksharam, is indestructible, cannot be destroyed. And the indestructible living entity who is beyond the material modes of nature, who is transcendental, he is called Brahma. And the self is his eternal nature. So here the understanding is that there is a non-eternal nature and then there is the eternal nature. So the non-eternal nature is made of the 8 elements which he had referred to earlier, the 5 physical elements and the mind, intelligence and false ego, man, buddhi, ahankar, panchabhuta and man, buddhi and ahankar. Then bhut bhava udbhava kara, the action that leads to the development of the non-permanent material body is called karma. Bhut bhava udbhava kara, the activity that produces the material bodies, in other words, is karma. Which he had explained earlier, that people are struggling with these 8 elements and creating some activities which are getting consequences, and there is a demand for this, so therefore the material bodies are developing. And these are called karma sangyata. These are known as fruitive activities. So fruitive is something that has a result or a consequence in the material world. These are fruitive activities. I am doing something in expectation of a result, or I am working for a particular result. And if I am working in the material zone of energies, then I am developing karma which binds me to this material universe, and it will promote the material manifestation. It promotes the universe. There is a demand for it because of this kind of activity. But he's also saying, earlier he had explained, and we know, as we have discussed many times with you, that there is also transcendental activity which Krishna is referring to in this text number 3, that the activity which is beyond the material modes of nature, the Paramam, Brahma Paramam. So that nature which is Aksharam Brahma Paramam, beyond the material modes of nature of goodness, passion and ignorance. So we can say it is Shuddh, purified goodness, or pure transcendental spiritual energy. Swabhava, that is your nature. Swabhav means what is your nature. So this is your true nature. The everything else is temporary and produced out of karma, fruitive activities, and that gives you this body. So different bodies come according to our activities, and then we do some karamkand sacrifices or yagyas to attain some material benefits, which is again karma, keeping you in the cycle of the material universe. We go up to various higher planets, and then when our credit card runs out, our debit card runs out, then we come back to this place or go lower, depending on what's going on in your activities. So it is explained in the Bhagavatam that the living entity, when he descends through rain, enters the ground, is taken up by food grains, and then when the person eats the food grain, he goes inside and becomes part of the seminal fluid, which during then the sexual intercourse is transferred to the womb of the woman, and that's where the living entity grows, and it is always accompanied by the Paramatma, the super soul. There's the soul and the super soul, or the super self. So now we have one point we can clarify here. There is the Brahma, which is the living entity. Bhaktivedanta Swami mentions this, and is to be distinguished from Parabrahman, the Supreme Lord. So Parabrahma and Brahma. So that is the transcendental Lord beyond everything, and then there is the living entity, Brahma, whose true self is also transcendental. So text number 4. Adhibhutam kshara bhava purusha cha adhidevatam Adhiyagya aham eva atra dehe deha bhritam vara. Adhibhutam, the physical manifestation, the material modes of nature, the eight elements. Kshara are constantly changing, bhava, nature. Purusha, the universal form, and Adhidaivatam, including the demigods like the sun, moon, the planets, everything. Adhiyagya, the sustainer of all sacrifices, the super soul. Aham Krishna eva atra, I am certainly dehe deha bhritam. I appear there in this deha bhritam vara. I am there above, supreme vara, in this body, and I am in, and we know that where is the natural place for the super soul is the heart of the living entity. Because Arjuna has asked, where does this supreme nature reside? So now, in which part of the body? So Krishna is explaining to him that there are two natures, one is the Brahma and one is the Parabrahma, and they are sitting in the heart. That is their natural position. So what does he do as the super soul? He is guiding the living entity as to what his bank balance of karma is, and he inspires him to certain action according to his karmic bank balance, his karma quotient. So when you heal your karma quotient with this liberating energy of the KQ force or of Reiki, then you are rewriting your books of account. And the super soul, which is seated right above the soul in your body, knows everything about you, past, present, future, everything. And as the soul decides to act, in whichever direction he decides to act, the super soul then guides him in that way. So Krishna has earlier said, people who are interested in approaching the demigods, I make their faith firm. People who approach me, I make their faith firm. So it depends where you want to go. So if you are running to the demigods, then you are going there. Then you are not coming to me. But you leave the demigods alone and you come to me, that's a different story. That is the path towards liberation. The other path, approaching the demigods, is the path of constant recycling in the material universe. So he is saying that there is a need for that also, because people have not developed sufficiently. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanvan mam prapadyante vasudevam sarvamiti sa mahatma sa durlabha. After many births, out of many perfect people, few know who I am. They are great souls. So he is provided for everybody. So the Vedic society is built up like this, that you have, according to one's capability, you have provisions available to you to develop on the spiritual path or to develop sufficient pious activity that at some point, after many, many births, many lifetimes, you may come to this point of understanding, and then it's your choice. Do you want to run on the fear path with the demigods, the planets, Karamkand section? Not that it is not recommended, yes, it is there. But the higher level, you elevate to the higher level beyond the Karamkand section of the Vedas. And that provision is also there for the spiritual activity, directly becoming sevakar, doing service, seva. Krishna is saying this earlier. So those who are not able to understand the personal form of Krishna, for them it is recommended you can worship the universe as the form of Krishna. He is appearing in the material manifestation, he is the underlying energy, he is the underlying source. So you can approach that is easier for you. In text 5, chapter 8, Krishna says, Antakale cha mam eva smaran muktva kalevaram ya prayati sa madbhavam yati na asti atra sanshaya. Antakale, at the end of your life of this body, The transcendental self never dies. He has established that. It is eternal, it is indestructible. Antakale, at the end of this life in this body, Chamam eva smaran, those who leave their body remembering me alone. Chamam eva, only me, remembering, smaran, remembering. Muktva, quitting this body, leaving this body, free of this body. Muktva means free of this body. It is also indicative that once you do that, you are liberated. Mukt means to be liberated from, also muktva. So when you are liberating yourself from the material body in that consciousness, in that Krishna consciousness, then ya prayati sa madbhavam yati nasti atra sanshaya. Such a person immediately attains madbhavam, my nature, which is what? Pure transcendental, beyond the material manifestation. So, the pure Brahma nature, not Parabrahma, because that is the supreme divine, but the transcendental nature in a limited form, which is you, the living entity. Madbhavan yati na asti atra sanchaya. There is absolutely no doubt about this. It's very, very clear. Once you do this, so this is the point, that the point of death, you must practice remembering Krishna alone. If you are remembering this family member, that family member, then you are stuck in that sequence of having to come back, because now you are attracted to that form, or you are connected to that form of husband, wife, friend, son, daughter, mother, father, whatever they might be. So, or the demigods, if you are going to think of the demigods, you'll go to the demigod planets, provided you have enough good karma credits to take you there. Enough pious activity has been done. And once that runs out, then you're back in. So it's like going for some kind of vacation. And then ultimately, this is universal tourism. So you travel here all across the universe. And in Bhagavatam, in fact, it is said that the living entity is mounted on this body, this machine-like body. Yantra Rudha. It is like a yantra. And he is traveling across the whole universe and eventually just rotating around in different bodies, the temporary bodies. So this is very, very clear and easy to understand. So we take the continuity of this explanation process further in text number 6. Yam yam va api smaran bhavam tyajati ante kalevaram tam tam eva eti kaunteya sada tat bhava bhavita. So whatever state of mind you leave the body, you will attain that state. So that is very clear. Then he says in text 7, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yuddha cha mai arpit man buddhi mam eva eshyasi asanshaya. Therefore, tasmat, therefore, sarveshu, at all times, kaleshu, sarveshu kaleshu, always at all times, that's underlined. Mam anusmara, go on remembering me. Yuddha, fight, even while you're fighting. Surrender to me your activities, mind, buddhi, man, buddhi, mam, surrender to me you give, eshyasi, asanshaya, without any doubt. So dedicate your activities to me, surrender to me, offer them these to me by thinking of me all the time that you are doing this for me, and with your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed at all times, sarveshu kaleshu, at all times, absolutely, always, you will attain me without a doubt. So again he is advising Arjun, you cannot give up fighting because that is your duty. All you need to do is to change this, because Arjun was very fearful, what will happen, what will the Vedas are saying that don't do this, that's all the Karamkand section. What will society say? How can I destroy my relatives? And I will get very bad name and so on and so forth. So Krishna is saying, all you have to do is to dedicate these activities to me and just do them. You do them as you are doing for me. And that's it. So there's nothing further required from you. That's all your work, the rest is mine. And he underlines this again in the next text, giving Arjun more confidence and more promise to him that abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa na anya gamina paramam purusham divyam yati partha anuchintayan. Abhyasa yoga yuktena, practice, abhyas, practice. Yoga yuktena, being linked and engaged in this consciousness with me. Chetasa, with mind and intelligence. So man and buddhi. So the ahankar part he is not talking about. Don't link your ahankar to me. Link your mind and intelligence. Rise above the false ego at the hara, the place below your navel. Rise above that to the mind and the intelligence, which is the third eye, the temple chakras, the third eye, the crown chakra. So, Nanya Gamina, without being deviated from this path, Paramam Purusham, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Divyam, transcendental, Yati, achieves Partha, son of Pritha, his cousin, in other words, Anuchintayan, constantly thinking of me. So such a person who meditates with mind and intelligence without being deviated from this path, Paramam Purusham Divyam Yati Partha Anuchintayan, achieves the Supreme Personality of Godhead, comes to him, and that's me, and you will come to me. So what is me? He is there present on the battlefield. What does it mean, come to me? Come to my personal abode of residence, Krishna Lok, Golok Vrindavan. That is where you can be. So this is very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. I think we will pause here at text 8 of chapter 8. This is the foundation of the further knowledge that Krishna is going to give him. So that will come up next week. We will discuss that. So we will pause here and take any questions if there are any questions from anyone.
You've been listening to audio excerpts of Bhagavad Gita for All, a lecture series by Nalan K. Narula on GettingPositiveKarmaNow.com.